Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today we're going to be doing another part in the Is It Worth Doing series, this time with a not necessarily a requested one, but one I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that is the Tower of the Helephant. Now this one I've wanted to do for a while because A, I've actually never done the Tower of the Helephant, and B, there is some cases where people may think that it's worth doing it, and I want to clarify it, and I also want to go over how to do it, because this is actually a toughie. This dungeon, the Tower of the Helephant, you unlock it at level 60 after completing the Wisteria main quest line. Now the thing about it is it's actually quite a difficult tower. I would put it in terms of difficulty substantially higher than Waterworks and even higher than Zigzag in some cases. So realistically, I would say this is one of the hardest level 60 dungeons to do. And if you were level 60, you're probably, and by probably I mean almost definitely, going to need 3 other people helping you at around level 60. If we're talking about max levels, you can probably just do it with 1 other max level. But in that case, and kind of something I needed to do and why this was held off for so long, is I actually need a little bit of help here. So you can see, got my death here, who is a Giga Chad, as always, here to help me with this dungeon, because I realistically don't think I can do it with just my myth. But without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into the tower itself. I'm going to go over it, go over the cheats, and do it in front of you so you can kind of see and gauge its difficulty. So first off, at level 60, you unlock the quest. You come to Belladonna Crisp here, and you can see there's tales of a powerful mage called Leon Lorestriker. Now this guy has taken up residence in the tower in Pegasus Place. This has been here for a long time. I'm sure you've noticed it at some point, but it's this giant tower over here. Now this tower has 7 floors, I believe. 2 of those floors have major cheating bosses on it. The first floor and the last floor. This tower actually really starts off with a bang, so be ready. So you can see here, I went up to it. It was like, nah, can't go in this way. So you have to go in around the back and go from the top down. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I will describe every fight as best as possible, as best as I can, while simultaneously doing it. Alright, so this first fight is actually probably the most difficult in the entire dungeon. If not, the last fight is slightly more difficult, but this fight is actually genuinely difficult. So real quick, let me read you the cheats. Alright, so right here, I'm using the Final Bastion guide. I'll leave it in the description just so you know. But you can see here there are actually some major cheats. So first off, for Irvin the Barbarian, he will cast a -90 universal shield and keep recasting it until Taurus dies. It can be removed by stealing it or using Pierce/Shatter. No traps are allowed on him until Taurus is defeated. This can be countered with Indemnity or spells like Windstorm and Mass Prisms. That means you can also use Mass Feint. Any fizzles throughout the battle will trigger an enchanted version of Skeletal Dragon, which can hurt. In terms of Taurus, at the beginning of every 3 rounds, he will cast a -50 smoke screen, which can be countered by fire dispels. He also removes the first blade on the recipient of the blade, can be countered with Aegis or spells like Blade Storm, and for every blade disarmed, Taurus casts a death blade on Irvin the Barbarian. Now, there is another big caveat here, because you're like, okay, no, this actually isn't that bad. Just defeat Taurus first, then go after Irvin. Well, that is not the case. In this case, it's actually better to just try to kill both of them at the same time, because once you defeat Taurus, every 2 rounds, Irvin will cast a massive Leviathan on you. So be very careful about that and be ready, because it's going to suck. But enough rambling, let's actually get into the battle itself. Now, I will say, I don't know exactly how ready I am for this. I don't know exactly how well I can do with this. I don't know if I prepared enough. I probably could have prepared more, but that's okay. We're just gonna go in for it, try to do it, and I'll try to do it as best as possible, obviously cutting out the long kind of things. So you can see here, this is the cheat that removes the first blade. I have Dark Pact, so that's fine. He casts a Death Blade in replacement of that. So I'd say one of the deadliest cheats here that you really need to worry about is the dual cheats of that -50 accuracy being cast on you, and then the very powerful Skeletal Dragon being cast on you. These 2 cheats combined probably make for a very deadly combo, especially at earlier levels. So do be very careful with that. I can discard these blades. I do not need them. I need every single thing that I did not draw, which is pretty darn cool if I say so myself. So you can't see my death screen, so I'm just kind of going to describe what I'm going to do. First off, Mass Feint, and this is pretty obvious. You want Mass Feint as much as possible. This usually doesn't activate feint triggers or cheats for any feint. I'm also going to try to cast an Elemental Blade. I'm not sure which blade will be removed, but we'll see. If I fizzle, this is going to be unfortunate, but what can you do? Oh, that's bad. Now, I'm going to probably do this unlike you guys should. You guys probably shouldn't just tank the cheats because it's probably not too good, but I'm going to because I am not very smart. What I would recommend doing for this one is either casting is either casting oh, that is actually very powerful. Either cast a fire dispel and try to stop him from casting that weakness on you, or maybe cast a death dispel to prevent the skeletal dragon. Either way, you need to do something to counter this, because realistically, this is probably going to hurt most low levels. I'm going to cut to further in the fight because I don't want this entire fight to take 10 minutes long on the video. All right, so I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try to beat them right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pierce Irvin here to remove that shield, and then I'm just going to 7-pip AoE. At this point, at level 60, you would have a 7-pip AoE, so this isn't really too different. The only thing is I would, again, highly recommend trying to avoid the cheats rather than just tank them like I am, because tanking them probably isn't the best idea. At the very least, this should do a lot of damage if it doesn't kill, but I think we might have this in the bag. That moon is very terrifying. Has anyone ever said that? I think people have, but it's very terrifying. I don't like it. Bonk. Okay, yeah, I'm more than killed them. So this battle, as you can see, it's not as bad as it used to be. The enemies only have like 13,000 health now. They used to have significantly more, but that's pretty much in the bag. Let's continue on with the rest of the dungeon. Now, while I'm going down the rest of the dungeon, let's go into what that drops, because I'm sure you're curious. So I would say the main thing that battle drops is two main things. First off, it drops a very good level 60 athame called the Lexicon Blade. I'll go more in depth on it later from the drops, but I just will say it is dropped from him. Second off, it drops mastery amulets. So if you want either of those, it could be potentially worth farming, but personally, I don't think it's that worth it. Now, as for the rest of the dungeon, let's get into it real quick. This is going to be a lot of floors. I'm probably just gonna cut to when I defeat most of them. You guys don't need any assistance on the strategy here. It's literally like 4 floors of 2,000 health mobs. It's nothing to worry about, and you can just breeze through it with 4-pip AoEs. There's floor 3 down, just as easy as the last one. Okay, so here we are in the next room. Now, this is a puzzle room that I legitimately don't know how to do. So it said a mouse only has to follow its nose, so I'm gonna assume you just follow the cheese in every single one. That would make the most amount of sense, I would guess. Yeah, and there you go. It's as easy as that. You just follow which room has the cheese in it. And actually, once you do it once, it disappears. You didn't see that because it was behind me, but the puzzle disappeared and my death was just allowed to walk through. Nothing too crazy at all. Okay, now this next boss actually is very deceptive because this is not really a boss at all. It says it's a boss, but its health is exactly the same as literally every other mob. You can see that it has 100 more health. I don't know why exactly they did this, but they did. This is considered a boss. Just beat it up real quick and move on your way. All right, perfect. Defeated that boss, and let's move on to the next floor. This is, I'm assuming, why it's called the Tower of the Helephant, from this Helephant right here. But I have a bit of news for you guys. Once again, this boss is kind of a joke. I don't know why they made 2 bosses in a row that are pathetically weak. You can see this only has 3,000 health. It's weaker than most even early Celestia bosses, which are designed for like level 40s. I don't know why they did that, especially considering this is called Tower of the Helephant. You'd think the Helephant would be strong, but it is not. So just kill it like you did the rest. And boom, there you go. Dead and gone, and now you are on the final floor and the second difficult boss of this area. First, let's talk to the Helephant, see what he has to say. Fought well, yada yada yada. Leon Lore Striker is in the next floor. We need to beat him up. So you can see him right here. Oh, he sounds so evil. Oh, it is a mere thief come to steal my power. I will make short work of you. Yeah, see, I like people who talk like this. They're very evil.
Gasha, hear me now. You failed me as a guardian. For that you will suffer once I have dealt with this trespass.
Okay, so let's go over the cheats again. This guy has another little set of difficult cheats. I actually don't think he's as difficult as the first one, but to be honest, it's not that bad. So first off, he summons 1 minion every round until the battle circle is full. The caveat to this cheat is that when there are full minions, he will start casting an overpowered blizzard every turn. He cleanses all traps. This can be countered by an indemnity/myth dispel. That is really it. Those are the major cheats. I would say the scary part of this is realistically the full minions overpowered blizzard and also cleanses all traps. So what you're going to want to do here is you are going to want to blade up and then beat the crap out of him. You can see here he used to have 21,000 health. He probably now has about 16,000. The gist of it is you try to blade up and then you beat the heck out of him. So enough of the guide. Let's actually get into it. I'm going to set up my deck real quick to be more apt for this fight. Perfect. I literally just had to remove the converts. On my death, let's go for a support deck. Perfect. Let's go, shall we? Now, I will say, I think my strategy for defeating this guy is going to be to obviously mass feint, because he will not remove a mass feint. I would say like 90% of these early cheating bosses, in fact 90% of all bosses in this game that have a remove feint cheat, are able to be mass feinted. This is just some kind of workaround. I don't know why, but it's able to be done. So in this case, I'm going to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blade my myth again, and then I'm just going to hit him with an Orthrus. This is probably what most people are going to do. I would highly recommend, if you're a low level, try hitting him before every minion comes in, and then everyone else, or just you, pack a 4-pip AoE. So the moment of truth, let's see how this Orthrus does against him. I'm sure it'll probably kill. Yeah, no, I prepared a little bit more than I thought I did. Yeah, he's very dead. Very, very dead. So now I don't need to worry about that cheat, or I didn't think I needed to worry about that cheat, but apparently the other guy is still here, so let's just pass around. All right, now let's take him out. Boom, and they are dead. Tower of the Helephant has been conquered. Okay, yeah, so Kagasha's dead, and we've conquered the Tower of the Helephant, getting the Liberator of the Helephant badge right here. That is not the right thing when you hover over that. You do not get this badge from defeating Lord Bramble, but that is the gist of it, and that is the dungeon itself. So now let's go turn in the quest, and I can get into the drops and the is it worth doing part of the video. So we turn it in, and boom. Yeah, so there we go. We've defeated the Tower of the Helephant, and now it's time to talk about the dungeon itself and talk about what's poppin'. So first off, let's go into the drops. Now, this dungeon has two major drops that I'm sure most people know about, and I'm going to go into right now. So first off, we're going to have this, the reward, the Lexicon Blade. This is from the first fight, as I mentioned, and you can see here it is a level 60, no trade, no auction athame. This athame has 3 slots, tier circle triangle, very good slots to have. It has 250 health, 200 mana, 15 power pip, 7 damage, 15% outgoing, 8 block. This athame is pretty good for level 60. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's not. This is the first reward that you can get from it, and this is the major appeal of this dungeon. This dungeon is the waterworks for athame and ring. Waterworks has hat rope boots. This has athame ring. This is the first reward. Now let's get into the second one. All right, the second one right here is the Aureate Band. As you can see, this is dropped from Leon Lorestriker. So this is 280 health, 125 mana, 12 power pip, 15 block, 5 damage, and 15% incoming with a tier circle and square slot. So again, really good slots. These are the two main appeals to this dungeon. There is also other drops in the form of mastery amulets and probably some mega snacks interspersed in there, but nothing too major beyond that. Now let me tell you my opinion on these drops, because this is really important for this video and is really important for the is it worth doing section. I do not personally think that the Lexicon Blade and Aureate Band are worth farming in the slightest. I know some people do, and someone commented on my video the other day, isn't it worth doing the Tower of the Helephant for those two items? I will say no, because there's two main reasons. First off, at level 56, you get the Wintertusk Athame and the Wintertusk Ring, called the Ring of Battle and the Athame of whatever, right? And you can get these from the Bazaar. Well, I have news for you. For every single school besides Ice, the Ring is better than the Aureate Band. It gives more damage, it gives more health, and it gives more power pip. I would say the one exception is the fact that the Ring doesn't have the same jewel slots. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a square slot. So if you're looking for a square slot, that's okay, but square slots realistically aren't that good, and that is an issue with it. On top of that, for the Athame, for a lot of wizards, it's also not as good as the Wintertusk. I would say for most of them, the only one exception again is Ice. Again, it gives more power pip, more health, more damage in most cases, or about equivalent damage. But let me tell you the kicker for this, and the real thing that makes it not worth it to me, and that is the fact that these are no trade items. The reason why this sucks, and the reason why I would say that these are are not good is because the main appeal of certain gears like this is that you can trade them over to new wizards and reuse it infinitely, right? So like, say the Alpha and Omega Ring or the Blade of Felled Titan, right? The appeal of those is you farm for them and then you can permanently use them on any wizard in the future. You can use that from level 90 and use it instantly because you can trade it over. In this case, you cannot trade it over, and that really does suck. It means that on those newer wizards that you'd want to use that for some levels, and once you've retired it on your older wizard, there's gonna be no point in even having it anymore because it is completely useless. You can't trade it over. So that is the main drawback of these, and I would say it's not worth farming them for that very reason. So let's go into the last section of this video where I just explain, is it worth doing? I would say heavily no. This is not Waterworks. This is not even Zigzag. This is not a level 60 dungeon that you should be doing for quite a few reasons. First off, this ring and Athame, as I just described in the last part, is not worth farming for. Beyond the fact that they're just not worth it in general, their drop rate is also extremely low. And I mean like extremely low. It's going to take you quite a few runs to actually get them in this dungeon. That in of itself is definitely a reason because this dungeon is difficult for level 60s. On top of that, the fact that the dungeon is difficult. Each of these runs isn't going to take you how long it took me. This video I've been recording for 30 minutes right now. Probably going to be cut down quite a bit by the time I'm done with it, but I've been recording for 30 minutes right now. I would say about 20 of that was the Tower of the Helephant, and I am 2 max levels, and I was doing it in probably one of the faster strategies. At level 60, this is probably going to take you 30-40 minutes, unless you get like constant help. Okay, hello Autumn. Unless you get constant help from max levels, you are probably not going to be able to do this as fast. And realistically, probably not many people are going to team up on this dungeon because they know how long it can be. So I would say that is the main reason why I would say, no, it is not worth doing. It's not worth your time in terms of the rewards. It's not worth your time in terms of just the time itself. So is it worth doing? No. Gonna slap that on there? No. Let me know what your opinion is in the comments below, but otherwise, that is it. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.